Hi, ladies. Welcome to another episode of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr. I am super excited to be with you here today. I've got a very special guest expert with me today. And I'd say guest expert, but it's almost like a friend now at this point, Emma. I'm not quite sure if you're feeling those vibes, but I've absolutely now made you part of my friendship circle. I'm joined by the just effortlessly glamorous, even if you're intending to be with your beautiful beachy waves today, Emma Van-Heusen, who is a Facebook ads and business strategist, an absolute, idol for me in terms of business, an absolute powerhouse and incredible female leader that I've connected with inside my current mastermind, and you're obviously one of the elite members there. But I'm super excited to just kind of pick your brains today. She's got an incredible inspirational story that I cannot wait for you all to hear as well. But thank you so much, Emma, for coming to be on my podcast with me today.
And thank you so much for the invite. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, thank you. And if you wouldn't mind, just for the ladies who are perhaps not necessarily familiar with you right now, if you could just explain a little bit more about what you do, who you work with, and ultimately, your higher purpose in business, that would be amazing. I'm sure I can't do it justice otherwise.
Sure. So I have a couple of facets to my business. So I run an agency. I have an agency that's a digital marketing, Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing agency where I work with, I want to say female coaches because most of them are, and we help to run and optimize their funnels. Mm-hmm. I also teach coaches, social media managers, and online businesses how to run ads for themselves. I have a mastermind and a membership and various other things on the boil, because as you'll know, as an entrepreneur, we never stop creating because that's what we love doing.
Yeah, I'd love to know actually, what's your human design, Emma? Do you know?
Do you know what? I think it's a generator.
Yeah, I'm a manifesting generator, and I tend to find that a lot of women.
That's what it is, manifesting generator.
Yes.
I did about 6 different profiles a couple of months ago, and then I got confused about which manifesting generator. Yes, that is what I am.
Yeah, and I love it because the good thing with that is, although it's lots of different things, it gives you energy. And I think, so when you have that creative spark and that entrepreneurial energy, like it will be really hard to contain that. So I absolutely resonate with what you're saying, like all of the things.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot to add in there, I'm also a certified positive psychology coach as well. So and that I learned more about the importance of energy and health, and how, as female entrepreneurs, it's so important that we look after ourselves so we are like high vibe and can attack our businesses with fervor.
And that's the thing. I think even just myself as a business coach, what I do with my clients, it's like working with what feels good and what actually lights them up, rather than getting them to do strategies that aren't aligned and all of those things. Otherwise it becomes a drain on your energy, doesn't it, when you're out of alignment with what you're selling and all of those things. It just doesn't. That's the quickest way to burn out. So I love that you recognize the fact that you're like, I just want to do all the things and I'm here to do it. That's amazing. I'm exactly the same. But what I would love to know actually is, what was your journey? Like, how did you do what you do? Because we're kind of playing it small, Emma. Like I'm in a mastermind and she's in the next level up. So she's in the elite and obviously doing incredible things with her business, making an impact on the world, and obviously filtering down and supporting other women to do the same, which feels amazing. But what was your journey to where you are right now?
So I used to work in advertising agencies, something I've wanted to do since the age of 15. And I even named to my, you get those like career advisors come into school. I don't know if they do. I'm a bit older now, so I don't know whether they do this anymore. But I remember saying to her, I want to work, and I won't say the name of the agency, but it was quite a big globally in the top 3. And I said, I want to work there when I'm older. And she was like, okay, it's quite tricky to get into that profession. And I said, I know, but I'm pretty sure I will. And I did. By the age of 21, I was in there and I loved it. And I climbed the ladder, and then I went off traveling, and then I came back and I carried on. And I got to 38 and I had my son. I've only got the one.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back and work 3 days a week, which, as I'm sure lots of people here listening will resonate with, it's very hard to have quite a high-powered part-time job. So they allowed me to work 4 days, which was really 5, because on my day off, you get the odd email. You're
always on, yeah, because you're ultimately still accountable.
Yeah. And just run the runs to nursery, dropping him off first, always being last to pick him up. I just realized that the work-life balance was so off.
Yeah.
And so I left.
That's a very bold move.
Yeah, it was done. I didn't plan it. I just went in one day and I just looked around and thought, and I could hear them talking. I could hear them talking about their hiring policy and how they wanted these hunters to come in, young 20-somethings, very attractive, to basically schmooze the clients.
Yeah.
And I just thought, where's the value of experience?
Yeah.
Versus what I felt was quite a chauvinistic approach, to be honest.
Yeah.
And after this conversation, I sat there and I thought, I can't stay here anymore. I've had enough. So I handed in my notice, but I didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have a plan, you sort of spend to your earning capacity, don't you? So I didn't have any savings.
Yeah.
And I naively thought that I would be able to get a job part-time, not so pressurized as what I was doing, but something that would make me feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything. And then I thought, well, I also wanted to work around school hours.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll be a secretary or some kind of PA admin job in a school. Brilliant. I'd love that. Not going to be
the dream,
paid, but I thought I'll have all the time because I was craving. A driver for me is about freedom, and as I only had the one son, I wanted to be able to spend the time with him, and for the first few years I didn't, because he was either being looked after by my mum or in nursery. And so that was really important to me. And so I applied for a few jobs, didn't even get an interview. And then I started panicking because I didn't have any money. And I was talking to my neighbor. I was actually getting out my car one day and I was crying because I was so about money.
And is this after you'd left your job? So it's not even like
this is after. I just couldn't
even
find
change
a
your
job.
mind.
I'd got to the point where I was buying my groceries on my credit card. And I always say, once you start doing that, you're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anyone to know because I was really embarrassed.
Yeah.
But my neighbor saw me crying and he just said to me, get yourself down to, the dole office, as he called it. You need to get some support.
Yeah.
So I went down and I signed on to get universal credit, and then you get this link where you have to be proving that you're looking for a job, and there just wasn't anything. So after about 3 weeks I went in and I had like the meeting where I have to tell them what I'm doing. You just feel like
child. Yeah.
And I just said, I don't really want a job. I said, that's the problem. I don't really want one. I'd rather work for myself because at least then I can work the hours I want.
Yeah.
And he said, well, there is a scheme you could go on. It's called the Enterprise Initiative Scheme.
Yeah.
And you can sign up for that.
Yeah.
And you'll get 13 weeks on £66 a week and 13 weeks of £33 a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking, it's not mega money, but do you know what? Any money right now would be good. And I
Yeah.
don't have to look for another job.
Yeah.
So I signed on for that, applied, got it approved that afternoon. They
Yeah.
set me up with loads of mentoring workshops that I could attend. I looked at them and thought, I don't really need these. I just need to get on with it.
Yeah.
So I went back home and I sat at my kitchen table with a massive pad of A3 paper.
Yeah.
And I thought, I need to treat myself like a client.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do, because that's what I do for my clients. I need to do this for me. So I mapped out a whole plan of what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And then I started. And I started off doing social media. And I
Like
was
social
very
media management.
social media management. I didn't do that for very long. I was very lucky
Mm.
that I got picked up during a contract that I had started during this time. And I'd been honest about it. I was like, I've got this contract. It's not going to be very long. It wasn't really lighting me up. The bonus, and I have to say, I look back and I'm very blessed. This sort of intermittent contract meant that I got access to Facebook and their
Yeah.
global marketing team.
Yeah.
So I soaked up everything that they told me. It all came quite naturally to me. So when I was doing the social media management, I just thought, you know what? I think I can start leveraging my Facebook marketing side of it.
Yeah.
And so I started to get some clients,
Mm.
and that kind of like snowballed. And from 100 days of signing the piece of paper for the enterprise initiative scheme, I'd made my first 100 grand, and
What?
nobody could be more surprised than me.
What? Oh my God, I didn't realize. So obviously I knew Emma's story and ladies, it gets even better. Let me tell you with the experience that she just had recently. And that enough was literally enough to make me actually like well up a little bit from the inspiration of it all. But wow, I didn't realize it turned around so quickly. That's amazing.
It was very odd. I
Yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong, that was always what I wanted.
Yeah.
But did I believe that to be possible?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, by my first 7 months, I was making multiple six figures.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I was dreaming,
Yeah.
because I was 20 grand in debt when I
Yeah.
started doing stuff on my credit card. And so to suddenly feel like that, that, that stress of money.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that I forgot to say, actually, which I'm sure some people might also resonate with, was that it got to the stage when I was putting things on my credit card that I was selling my son's toys on Facebook.
Yeah.
It was really that bad.
Yeah.
Um, and that is such an awful place to be. So
Were
I
you
really
a single
understand.
parent at that time or yeah.
No, I wasn't, but my partner at the time, my son's dad, he'd been on and off work with depression and bad back, and
So you really were carrying the weight of
I felt
everything.
like yeah, there was a lot of responsibility that
Yeah.
I had on my shoulders.
And it's
Um,
hard when you need to be, we were just talking about energy a moment prior to the call, but it's like when you need to be that center of all things and the whole fate of your family is essentially on your shoulders. How are you supposed to rise up and elevate and be inspired and be creative and go out and serve others when all you want to do is just get into bed and just
yeah,
feel sorry for yourself for a moment? And you obviously just did not have that time, did you?
no, but I'd had enough.
Yeah.
I just thought, how much longer am I going to wait? I'd always wanted to do something for myself.
Yeah.
And I think the moment I started to be more fearful about never giving it a go, than being fearful about giving it a
About what
go.
might happen, or it might, might not work out. Yeah.
Yeah, my fear was I don't want to be looking back in my 70s, 80s, however long I'm blessed to be alive for, and think, why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
My life could have been really different. Why did I do why did I stay in corporate and be miserable forever? Because
Yeah.
that would have been in many ways easier,
Yeah.
because financially, that wage coming in every month,
Yeah.
uh, there's a level of comfort in that. There's a
Yeah,
level of
absolutely.
certainty.
Yeah. And
And
there's also
once that
that familiarity as well, like say, that's what connects you to everybody else as well. I don't know about you, but when I started to, I kind of had a similar journey to you in that I wasn't a born entrepreneur, and I was like, I'm going to go work for myself. I wasn't like Richard Branson. But so my journey to entrepreneurship was through necessity, and it was the same thing, like single parent, unexpectedly went to drop my kids off in the morning, who also, my mum was my main childcare giver. Happily went to drop the kids off 5 o'clock in the morning, ready to go into London, like da 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 da. And my mum had a stroke, and just completely unexpectedly, wasn't unwell, didn't see it coming. So had no backup, had absolutely no fucking plan B. Went to my job and obviously said, if you could just let me maybe, reduce my hours, work from home. And they were like, no, you're either here or you're not. Like, and I'd been there 7 years, and I was like, what? So I literally actually had to sell my house to buy my first business. But really, so it wasn't like, oh, I would have done it at some point. No, I absolutely fucking wouldn't, because I needed the money and wanted the familiarity. But actually, in doing that, it really disconnected me from my friends, from my family. I had to relocate for my business, but just there was nobody else around me saying, yeah, you go girl. Like I
I know.
really had to learn that
Mm.
inner resolve in myself, that can't quit, won't quit, because I've got no bloody plan B, so I'm making it work whatever happens. Like it just is. Did
I
you
can
find that?
remember, yes, I remember very distinctly a conversation that I had. It was when I'd when I was like thinking I'd left work, so I was in the what the hell am I going to do space. And I remember meeting some friends, some mums,
Yeah.
in the coffee shop after the school drop off, and we were just chatting, and everyone was, as you do, moaning that they don't have enough money and what they're going to do for Christmas. And I remember saying to them, I really want to make I want to make 10 grand a month. That's
Yeah.
what I want to do. And I remember one of them looked at me and she went, good luck with that, Emma.
Yeah.
I thought, I will then.
Yeah.
I will. And I
Yeah.
looked at her and I said, you watch me. You
Yeah.
watch me. And then that's obviously when I thought, I'm in this now.
Yeah.
I just thought I want to make 10 grand a month. I can. I'm not going to get a job where I'm going to make 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I don't want those kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
So the only way that I could do that is if I
Live for
work for
yourself.
myself,
Yeah.
and then obviously like 10 became 20 and just went on. And then I just thought, yeah, I knew I could do this, but it's that taking that leap of faith. And sometimes you have to have your back up against the wall
Yeah.
to take action. If you're very comfortable, there's too much to lose.
Yeah,
You
that's the
know?
thing. Yeah. And Oprah says about this, like nothing incredible happens from your comfort zone. Like absolutely not. It's
Right.
not, you're not just going to suddenly wake up and you're Beyonce and you're living your dream life. Like you have to go through that process, because like you say, that's the testament that really pulls out what you're capable of. Because I would never
Mm.
have I didn't think, oh, and as women, our brains are not designed to be comfortable with risk. We're actually very risk averse. And I was very much a steady Eddie. I had a mortgage at 18. I'd done my degree, like got my corporate career, and that was just me done. And that was me thinking that's all I'm capable of. And I have to say, like being an entrepreneur, it's given me a whole different skill set and confidence, a whole new attitude that I didn't even know was possible, that was just kind of unleashed. Once you get to that point, like you say, where you have to make money, like your kids are waiting on you. And if you don't get out of your own fucking way and stop
Mm-hmm.
being like pussyfooting about and, you know, just being an idiot in terms of like holding yourself back. No one else is going to do it for you.
No, I
And
mean, I'm a single mum now,
yeah,
and that was that was that was a defining moment when my relationship broke down, actually, because I just thought, and I talk about this quite openly, I was very lucky that I had money,
yeah,
because lots of because my world is full of women, you know, gorgeous, gorgeous, powerful, strong, high achieving women on the outside.
yeah,
Lots of them are very unhappy, but they don't leave because financially they can't afford it.
yeah,
And that was such a defining moment for me, is actually, I don't have that.
yeah,
You know, when we broke up and he just left very, very suddenly, it was hideous. But I, the one thing I didn't have to worry about were the finances. Now, he doesn't work now. He
yeah,
doesn't support me or my son financially.
yeah,
Um, and I don't need that.
yeah,
You know, thank goodness. And
yeah,
it just made me realize the importance of women having their own finances in order,
yeah,
you know, their own money,
yeah,
so that if something really unexpected happens, or you want to, or even things like a member of your family falling ill and you being able to pay for them to go privately, like having money, it just opens up so much choice for
yeah.
you.
And also being supported, I think, is the greatest tool for me, as much as it is about you know, living my best life and, you know, inspiring my kids as to what, you know, a mum needs to look like. You know, I do invest in my clothes and myself and my self-care, but it's about being supported, I think, as well. That's the greatest blessing for me, is that I don't have any family, and my mum now has sadly passed, and I don't have a great network. And what situation would I be in if I didn't have the means to get support from other ways? You know, like, I help myself to be helped. Like, I invest in
Yes.
coaches, I invest in community, I invest in help at home, I invest in like an au pair, and that just allows me to be the best that I can be, like the best version for my kids. So it's almost like I feel that responsibility, even if I want to be a martyr and I want to play small. It's like, no, because you need to get out there and show your kids what's possible for them too. um,
Absolutely.
and that
So
comes from money.
important.
Yeah,
Mhm.
as much as it might
And
sound.
you're, sorry, I was going to say, and making sure that they understand the value of money and that it's accessible to them, you know,
Yeah,
having a good money mindset as well, which I know is something that you talk about a lot. It's really important. I mean, I remember my parents, bless them, they don't even, my mum and dad don't really even understand what I do. My mum used to think I was an accountant. I don't know where she got that from. But I remember, you know, them, we didn't have very much money, but and I was very aware
yeah,
uh, that we didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were great providers,
yeah,
and I had my mum's time, which
yeah,
was amazing. And that's why I think, you know, my son having my time is really important, because actually, would I have remembered the fancy clothes that she would have bought me? No, but I remember her being around, and that was really
yeah,
important. I wanted my son to remember that I'd been around. I'm around for him, but I also want him to understand why I can be around for him. And
yeah,
that's because I am my own boss. You know,
yeah,
I don't have to put in a form to take holiday. I don't have to tremble at the thought of picking up the phone to tell somebody that my son's ill or I'm ill and I can't make it into work, because that all that is off the table. You know, I design my life around what best serves me and my son, and that is
yeah.
pretty much.
And that is the ultimate dream, isn't it, as a mum? I absolutely resonate with what you're saying with corporate. I remember my baby was actually breech because, and the midwife said it was because I was driving too much in my job. I was field based, and my boss, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know about you, and it might be different because you're in an agency where it probably wasn't predominantly women, but I found that women were the worst in corporate as well. And
Oh, for sure.
she sent me to Devon from North London. So it's about a 5.5 hour drive for a 20-minute meeting at 8 months pregnant, just to almost prove that she could. So it's like you're either in it or you're not. And she wanted me to go on maternity leave early. And I was like, no, I can't afford to, because then I'll have no maternity leave and I need to be here with the baby. And yeah, I just had the worst experience. So now, be like, I am probably the only mum that absolutely skips to the school run in the morning. Like, I am full of gratitude because I get to be there, I get to have those conversations with my children, I get to be present in their lives, and that means far more to me than anything else, obviously.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I really appreciate that. I like resonate with that. And I do wonder, I'm quite curious about the next generation, because already, I don't know if you see this with your son, like my children are quite entrepreneurial. Like none of them are aspiring to anything in corporate. Like no, not one of them's come and said, it's all, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to have an Etsy store, I want to like dance, sing, perform, like it's all of the things that I'm like, that's so interesting. They're never going to have the same issues that our generation does with money mindset.
No, no. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I've literally just moved to be able to send my son to an amazing school. But the reason I've sent him to this particular school is because it's about the child thriving and understanding. There's so many opportunities for him there, which he wouldn't have had in the school that was local to me.
Yeah.
And I want him to look at the world differently. I'm not bothered about whether he goes to university. I didn't.
Yeah, I honestly, Emma, I was exactly the same my whole life, because I didn't get to go when I was younger. I put so much value in education because I believed that that was the only way out of like a shit life, basically, was getting a good job, getting an education. And I always felt a bit resentful about not having, having that opportunity to be a kid and do these things. And I always remember saying, like, my children, all of them will go, that's like priority number one. But actually, now I've had children and now I'm on the other side of corporate and seeing what I've become capable of, that would be almost like, fate worse than death, really, because I think that would stifle their personality. I think they wouldn't get those opportunities to really see what they're capable of. And now as they're growing up, I've got 5 children. They're so different, so different. For me to think that they're going through exactly the same education system and then it being learned the same things in the same way to then go into university, I'm like, oh no, hell no. We'll travel, we'll do more incredible things, go and create some memories.
Yeah,
Which actually brings
absolutely.
me very nicely onto the second part of your story, because genuinely, I think there's been situations in life. I am like the perpetual single parent. Like I've had many failed relationships. It's not just one that kind of like unexpectedly didn't work out. And I think my
Welcome to the club.
let's wear it with pride. I don't even care, because it's boundaries and all of those great things. But one thing that I was always worried about was like, oh, my kid's going to miss out. Are they going to miss out on life if it's just little old me? That completely disempowering myself. And that's always your fear as a mother, isn't it? That in trying to find your happiness, it's going to be at the cost of your children's potential or something. And I think you have pretty much single-handedly blown that theory out of the water with just the incredible experience that you just had recently with your son. And literally it brought me to tears. And I was saying to Emma, like, she was always on my list, because you are definitely somebody that I absolutely look up to, not only just for the money that you've made, but the just you to me are a true female leader, like an absolute badass that owns their space, that speaks their mind, that is completely unapologetic. And that has always been inspirational to me. Particularly coming into the coaching space, there's a lot of fakeness, a lot of people that are just like robots of the neck. So I absolutely resonated with your energy, first of all. But then this is literally just like, oh my God, I need to speak to you now because I want to hear all about that. So if you want to share with the listeners what you've just experienced with your son, that would be
Wow.
amazing.
Necker has always been on my vision.
Yeah.
Necker Island, I remember seeing a group of ladies, all female entrepreneurs that I looked up to on Necker with Richard Branson. And I remember thinking,
And it's
God,
his
I'd love
privately
to do that.
owned island, isn't it? For
It's
anybody
his
that doesn't know.
privately owned island. I mean, you can go there on holiday, but it's not Butlins. Do you know what I mean? And I remember just in awe, in absolute awe, thinking, how the hell did they do that? I would love to do that one day.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I came back from a trip just like that 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I did.
Admittedly, I did think it was like MI5 and you had to get like the tap on the shoulder. Didn't even know that you could. So I'm even excited that this is even a potential.
This is a total potential, and it's not a potential for you. It's a done deal for you. You're a badass. You can totally be there. But I when the when I decided I was going to go, I was supposed to go before lockdown and the pandemic, so it was put back. So my situation since when I was initially going, I was still in a relationship. Well, now I'm a single mom. I've moved,
Yeah.
and my son is now with me more because of the school.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted him to have that experience
Wow.
because he's older now. I think a couple of years ago, he's 11 now.
Yeah.
You know, he's sort of much more aware. He's more aware about what I do. And so I inquired whether I would be able to take him.
Mm.
On a practical level, it was also that he was starting at this school that we've moved to be near. And if I went to Necker, it would mean that I would also miss his first week at school.
Yeah.
And I had to go to court to
Mm.
get him to this school and to be allowed to move, which
Oh,
is
really?
another,
A
yeah,
whole nother story. Yeah.
a whole other story. So that was just very stressful. But again, thankfully, when you can hire the best team,
Mm.
your chances of winning significantly increase. And
And
like,
I
obviously,
and I love the fact that you have just identified something that could be a potential block and just thought, fuck it, there's a way, I'm going to find it. Because
yeah,
as women, we're resourceful, and yet we forget that a lot of the time.
yeah. And so I just thought, I'm just going to take him.
Yeah.
One, I'd love to take him because I want him to experience that. And two, it's the universe is almost telling me to,
Yeah.
because I couldn't have gone to Necker and known that he was going to school and I wasn't there. There's no way I'm going to do that. So
Yeah.
I just thought, I'm going to see if I can take him.
Yeah.
They were so accommodating.
Oh,
They made it possible. It was all quite last minute. And because I didn't know at that before then, because of the court case, what was going to happen. And so they said, yes, he can come. And so
oh,
I then spoke to the school and said, me and my son are going to meet Richard Branson. So he's not going to be in school for the
yeah.
first week. You know, I hope that's okay. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
And he said to me, no one has ever given that as a reason for their son not
Well, I've
being
had
in
creative
school.
excuses, but that probably tops it.
And she said, I think you'd be a fool to not
Yeah.
take him. That sounds amazing. So I was like,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
So he came, he made the trip for me.
Yeah.
He approached everything with such excitement and curiosity. He
Yeah.
was very interested in Richard, you
Hmm.
know, how his story. I mean, the trip over was obviously fantastic. You know, we go business class and
Yeah.
he's lying down in the bed next to me and we're laughing and he's ordering little mocktails and you know the whole experience was just fantastic.
Yeah.
But when we got there, there's a few things that happened which I'll just quickly talk about because I think I want him to understand the importance of these when he's older.
Yeah.
So the first thing that happened was I couldn't get my boarding passes printed out. So I had to go to BA in Gatwick and get them physically printed out. And there's this guy, it's empty because it's really late at night. And there's this guy standing in the check-in talking to this lady. And I said, oh, do you mind, you know, could you print these out? There was a problem. I can't get them on my phone. And my son, Frank, started chatting to this guy. And he said, where are you going? Where are you going, little man? And
Yeah.
he said, I'm going to see Richard Branson. I'm going to Necker. And this guy was like, you are joking. He said, I was only talking about him today. He
Mm.
said, he said, would you give him my business card? I've literally just started my business. And we were talking about Richard Branson. And
Yeah.
so my son said, yeah, okay. So he took his business card, put it in his pocket, and they had this lovely conversation. And this gentleman turned around to me and he said, he's a very special boy. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about him, but he's really special. And I said,
Oh,
thank you. And I'm thinking, well, we all think that about our children, although
yeah.
sometimes we also think terrible things about them secretly. But it was just a lovely exchange. And it was a
Yeah.
great way to start our trip. Well, when we went back the next day, this guy's in a BA uniform now.
Oh,
And he spotted us. The queue was enormous.
yeah.
And he said, Frank and Frank's mum, come this way.
Frank's mom.
And Frank's mum. And he took us straight through
Oh,
and kept us straight in. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And he said, that is because I had such a lovely conversation with him. And he's, I just, as soon as I saw you in the airport, I was like, what can I do to make your trip better? I said, thank you
oh,
so much.
yeah.
And so then when we were
What a
in
great lesson, by the way, in for him knowing that, you do good things and good things come back to you, like that
that
karma.
was
Yeah.
that was what we talked about on the plane. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we did. And I said it's about being open, being curious, open to conversations. Now, obviously, you have to be very careful as a mum that you're not talking to strangers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wanted him to understand the power in exchange
Yeah.
with nothing, and it's not transactional. It was a
Yeah.
lovely moment of human connection.
Yeah.
So we were in Antigua waiting for our little plane to take us off to another island. And, it works very differently out there. The planes just kind of rock up when they feel like it. So
Yeah.
we were there hours. And Frank was on his knees by this point because we'd been traveling for so long. And he sees this guy who looks a bit of a dude. He's like a surf dude, and Frank's
Yeah.
a bit kind of surfy. And he went up to him. I don't know why he went up to. Well, I know why he went up to him, because he liked the look. He's like, he's cool. And
Yeah.
he said, "Do you know when our flight? Do you know when our flight's going? I'm flying to Tortola.
Yeah.
And the flight's disappeared from the screen, and we've been here hours." And this guy's like chatting to him. He's like, "Dude, this happens all the time. It'll just
Yeah.
rock up. You'll be
Yeah.
fine, and then you'll have a lovely holiday." And
Yeah.
Frank was like, "Oh, thanks." And they talked about surfing and things like that. Got on, the plane arrived. Anyway, we landed in Necker, and they had said to me, because obviously I'm there and I'm sort of there to connect with people. It's a mastermind that I'm going to, so it's not a holiday.
Yeah.
And so Frank, I needed to make sure that he was going to be taken care of during the times when I'm in sessions.
Yeah.
And so they've said, look, we've got all these water sports lined up. We've got a great team here. We can look after him. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, amazing. Anyway, so we go up to these welcome drinks, and there's champagne and, all the things. The view is, I'm just blown away. It's more amazing than my mind was even allowing myself to expand. I was just like, wow.
I can imagine.
And one of the lady that organized everything, a lovely lady called Natalie, she came up to me. She said, right, we're going to show Frank who's going to look after him so they can start to get connected. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And I turned around, and it's that guy from the airport.
Oh.
And he was like, Frank. Frank was like, Tim. He was like, you didn't tell us you were going to Necker. And Frank said, you didn't tell me either. And so they just disappeared off.
Like friends.
And he had the most amazing time. But what absolutely just, I was so taken aback by, was seeing him interact with Richard.
Yes, that was it. They were playing chess, weren't they?
He just, as soon as he saw him, all of us, I'm not going to lie, we're a bit sort of starstruck.
Yeah.
And didn't really know what to do, because he just suddenly appeared.
And you don't want to bother him either, because you're like,
don't want to bother them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Frank just went up to him and tapped him on the shoulder and sort of said, "Oh, thanks for inviting us to your island." And they started having this lovely conversation. And I was like, "Oh God, is Richard, is he feeling bothered? Is he feeling
Yeah.
awkward? Is he just wishing he'd go away?"
Yeah.
But he seemed to just really connect with him. So
No.
he said, "Do you want to? Have you played chess before?" And Frank's like, "Not really. I don't really get it. I don't." And he said, "Let me show you how to play chess. It's a really strategic game,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's good to have an understanding of the pieces of the
Yeah.
puzzle."
Oh my
And so
God. What an
they went
incredible
off.
life lesson with the
I
metaphor.
know.
Wow.
The
Like,
the rest of us were like, "What the hell?"
I want to play chess.
Frank's playing chess with Richard Branson, whilst the rest of us were just like, don't know what to do, don't know what to say, don't know what to bother, don't want to bother
Yeah.
him. But Frank, as an 11-year-old, they don't have the same thought process. They
Yeah.
don't have that self-awareness of,
Yeah.
what if they don't want to speak to me? And that was a really important lesson
It's
that we all
it's
talked about.
conditioning, isn't it? It's conditioning because we all had that at some point, but someone kicked it out of us essentially and
Yeah.
told us it was rude and presumptuous, and we were full of ourselves and all of these things. So,
Yeah.
oh,
And also we worry so much about, well, I don't anymore because I've let go of that now, but that's a that's a working that's a lot of work, is worrying about what people think of you, and that sort of
yes,
self-judgment, and I don't want to do this because what does that say about me, or what will people think of me?
yeah,
And for him, I mean, he probably had one of the best connections with Richard during the whole time we were there, because
yeah.
we'd
Um,
sit next to him at breakfast and they'd
oh,
chat, and his team said to me, which I thought was amazing, that after the first time he met my son, he said to the team, "Who's that beautiful boy with the big brown eyes?" And they said, "Oh,
oh,
it's Frank." And he said, "There's something about that. There's something about that boy. There
yeah.
really is. Something special about him. Make sure that you look after him. I want him to have a
Oh,
good time."
oh my
And my
gosh.
God, and he did have a good time. He had an amazing time. And we talk about it now that we're back, and he wanted to know why people were there.
Yeah,
And I said, we're there because our desire is to create impact in the world. Like my desire, I'm not going to lie, when I first started was to make some money.
of
But that's
course.
because I didn't have
Survival.
anything, and I
Yeah,
needed to survive, and it
yeah,
was stressful.
yeah.
Now, I'm a few years into the journey now, and seeing the impact that I've had on people's lives. Like one of my grads is going to NECA in 24. She, as her life has changed, like so many women that I have been in my world,
Yeah.
like their life has changed beyond recognition. That's actually what gives me joy.
Yeah, because at
It's
some
just,
at some point the zeros and the money, like it's Stephen Bartlett said this actually as well about, I mean, and it aligns with like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that once our basic needs are met and once we're good, so once you've got that 100 days in and you're not in fight or flight anymore and you know that you're okay, and you've also built that inner resolve and trust in yourself that even if it was taken away, I'm going to be okay because I'm
yeah.
resourceful and I know what I'm capable of now. It is that sense of higher purpose and actually, why am I doing all this?
Mm.
So it's so great that you've been able to do that. And the ripple effect of that legacy is going to be huge. Because I'm assuming you
Yeah.
work mainly with female coaches, don't you?
I work with coaches,
Mm.
online, mostly online businesses, and social media managers, because a lot of social media managers, I know what that world is like
Yeah,
when you're on
hard.
lowball pay
Yeah,
and undervalued, and you work a lot. I think when I went into social media, I just sort of thought naively that I'd be able to do a few hours a day and it would
Yeah.
all work around the school hours. And actually, it's not like that at all. You're
Yeah.
always on when you're on
Yeah.
social media. It's like, why didn't I think? I didn't think
Yeah.
this
Well,
through.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so people have seen my journey and see, Facebook ads was an absolute game changer for
Yeah.
me. Understanding how to do that, calling in clients and running campaigns for them, getting epic results, and then thinking, I want to teach other people how to do this because I want them to have
Yeah.
the power to command high value clients.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's sort of multiple audiences that I work with, but ultimately all of them are because they're in my world because they see me as someone who makes it possible.
Yeah.
And that's all what I want people to think of when they think of me, is that Emma makes it feel like it's possible. And that's
Yeah.
because it is.
Yeah.
It is. And I'd say the only difference between me and those people stuck in the lowball jobs is that I actually got off my arse and did something.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
maybe it wouldn't have happened unless you'd had that defining moment, but it's in all of us, isn't it, to make that decision that I'm not dealing with this BS anymore. And I do think sometimes it's like the closer you get to 40, because let me tell you, like my boundaries are like rock solid. And yet my 30s, I was very like, oh, da, 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 da. But now I'm like 40, I'm like, no, this is how it is, and no other way. But what I just, and so I love that as well. And also that your legacy is essentially getting these heart-led women and incredible females out into the world in a more visible, bolder way that they wouldn't have been able to amplify their message, they wouldn't have been able to do before, which feels really good for the collective. So I'm obviously like, I'm very spiritual and I love the collective energy and how when one rises, like we all rise and we all need to be supporting each other. But just circling back to what you were saying about your son in Necker, I think the most beautiful thing for me, because again, I am very spiritual and everything I teach is about being soul aligned. Strategies with my clients, it's all about selling from the soul. And you have taught him the greatest life lesson that it's just about a human connection. And it doesn't matter about who it is or what they're going to give you, or if you're going to get anything out of that situation. It's just be a good person and just to create a conversation with somebody. And he's learned the value and the confidence in that at such a young age. Can you imagine how that's going to serve him as he moves through not only adulthood but also manhood? Like,
Yeah.
I think I've got two boys and I really feel that responsibility as being a mum of boys, that I'm sending them out into the world as really kind, compassionate, emotionally mature and men that are going to go out and just be really great, species essentially.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't know your situation with the fathers of your children,
Yeah.
but with me, he's a great dad,
Mm.
but he's not a great role model.
Yeah.
And that pains me to say that, but
Yeah.
I don't, because he isn't aspirational.
Yeah.
He's been on benefits for the last few years. We've all been there, but you at some point you've got to take some action. Like you've got
Yeah.
to, if you don't want a job, you don't want to work for somebody else, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then create the life that you want. Do something
Absolutely.
about it.
Yeah.
Write a plan. Get on social media. I didn't have any money when I
Yeah.
started. I had none. Because lots of people, I think, because they think of me as the queen of Facebook ads, they think that I made the money through a funnel.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So I didn't, it's not because I spent 10 grand on a funnel to funnel all these people in. I didn't have any money. So that wasn't how I did it. I did it all organically to start with.
Yeah.
But, I had a plan. And so in the
And
absence of,
probably also spotted an opportunity, as in like timing, like you said, you were learning all the things and doing all the things, but rather than trying to be the queen of everything, you identified an opportunity with Facebook ads and doubled down on that. and then just kind of went all in, which I think, again, a lot of us, we busy ourselves, and as women, we chronically keep ourselves busy because it validates us, and because we think, that we need to be doing all these things. We wear lots of hats. So the fact that intuitively, like, you've got to give yourself more credit. Like, you intuitively identified an opportunity and doubled down and went all in, whether that was from a place of, I fucking need to sort this shit out and I've got to make some money. You still did it. Like you said, you still did the work and followed it through, and probably made it all it could be, which feels really good. And I do feel that sense of responsibility. Like, obviously, I'm assuming we're like the same age. I'm not sure. I might be insulting you,
No,
Emma.
I'm going to be 50 next month.
Oh my God, darling. If I would, I literally could
Oh
fall
my
off my
God,
chair.
sometimes I feel about a bloody 150, but no, I mean, this is why I think, why did I wait so long?
Yeah, but
That's
everything happens as it's meant to.
It does, it was, but just circling back to like the burden of responsibility, I think as a mom, if you are a single parent, they need good role models. And so for me to be able to take him to Frank to Necker to meet somebody like Richard Branson, I mean, he's got to that age being 11, but he's quite drawn to men. He started to be more curious about, it's always been mummy, but now he's drawn to men. So I'm very aware that I want him to just have these connections with people. I mean, a more better connection than to have for inspiration than somebody like that. But I think, that's just like at the top of the tree. There are other things that I put in place along the way to make sure that I'm a good role model for my son. He sees that anything is possible if he puts his mind to it. He can make his own money. He can have financial security. He can have choices. And that's the things that we talk about when he'll say, could I do this? Could I do that? It's like, you can do whatever you want. But
do you get drawn into these like entrepreneurial schemes like I do with my kids? They're like, I want to have a YouTube channel, mummy, can you just do that? And then I'll just turn up and do the videos. Or I want to do an Etsy store, like, you know how to do that. And I'm like, hang on a sec, am I like your business partner? No, I'm doing the work.
He wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
This is plan at the moment.
Oh, but I love that, and that comes from our generation. Our generation is like the game changers for our children, because genuinely anybody that's feeling really disempowered and like, oh, but it's okay for you and it's all right for you and da 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 da. Like, yes, I have money, but only because I sold my house, like because I was ready to back myself because I had to. But there, there is nothing but potential. There's never been a better time. I actually saw, just for novelty value, I saw a woman on GMTV the other day, no, this morning, and basically she digs up like dead mice from her garden. I kid you not.
What?
And I don't know in what process this entails, but she essentially models them into like funny little poses and sells them online. Like, people buy these mice, and she is making six figures, Emma. So anybody,
she's in a niche.
Yes,
that's the way to make
they're on like hula hoops and roller skates, and they're dead mice. I'm like, who is buying them?
That you'd be surprised. I remember coming across this lady. She was making six figures teaching people how to do a handstand. I mean, there is some crazy ass shit out there. There really is. But, you've just got to find something. And this is the thing that Richard talked about, actually. And this is the thing that Frank definitely has started to think about more. And he said, you need to just keep your eyes open to what is going on in the world and think of something that you think you can do better. Like, just that. It doesn't have to be massive. But just something that you just think there's a better way to do that, and then approaching
it with a sense of curiosity. I always say that when it comes to business, like, that's how I've managed to accidentally build a coaching business, and how I've accidentally done other things, is because I've just been curious, and I've just kind of like, but why is it like that? Why do people do that and they don't do this? Because that's it. Like, it's that childlike curiosity, isn't it, that will get you so much further in life. Like, he's the innovator, the future, like that. So that's really exciting. And I love that, because a lot of the time, what I find with people that are like startups, there's this pressure to be groundbreaking, to be the next Uber, the ultimate invention that nobody's ever had, or to be the absolute best at something that's never been created before. And it's almost like too much bloody pressure, isn't it? Actually, you can build a really great business just by being consistent. Like, it's not sexy, but there's lots of people that will come and go because they can't be consistent, and you can build a really great reputation and brand on that. Timing is a great thing. A lot of people are really successful, not necessarily even because they're better, but because they were first. Like, there's just so many routes to entrepreneurship.
And it's also people, I mean, there are lots of people in the coaching space, and if you took the attitude, oh, well, there's lots of people in the coaching space, there's no room for me. Well, there probably wouldn't be a Costa or Cafe Nero, but, they're doing pretty well.
Yes, that's it.
But it's about people are they're drawn to you also for who you are, for your story, how you teach, how you show up, if they can resonate with you. I mean, I'm never gonna, at my age, I'm not gonna resonate with 18-year-olds. I'm cool with that. I resonate with women who have been in corporate, mostly, not all of them, but a majority of them have had children and actually come out of that with an identity crisis because they don't want to do their jobs anymore. There's no real room for them anyway. They don't want to progress because, quite frankly, that there's not enough time to go around to have that work-life balance. And so they end up being managed out or leave because they're really unhappy. And then they're like, I've got all these skills. I don't want to work, in some real lowball job because you're just going to feel unfulfilled doing that. What the hell do I do? I don't know what to do.
A lot of people, when they come into the online space, they're discounting all of that. They're almost apologetic for their previous life in corporate. So they're, perhaps wanting to be a social media manager, and straight away like, oh, well, I can't ask very much because I'm still new and I'm still learning. But it's like, actually, you're bringing a whole nother layer of transferable skills, maturity, insights. Let's stop, devaluing that,
100%.
Yeah. Oh, well,
and I just want to end by just saying, for anyone out there who's listening, like, never think it's too late to start. It's never too late. It's only too late when you're on your deathbed.
That's it. It's almost like reclaiming what is out there. What is your birthright, essentially? Like, I definitely think I resonate with a slightly older audience as well, because obviously, I know what it's like. I feel like you said earlier, God, I feel about 150. I'm the same. I feel like I've had about 20 different lifetimes, and I forget that anything happened before the kids and all these, beautiful, glamorous things I used to do before them.
So I can't even imagine having 5 kids. That's a mind expansion out of
I actually find it easier, Emma. I actually felt sorry for the parents during going through lockdown, particularly where they only had one.
Because you know what? Actually, that is that was a tough old gig.
Yeah,
because it's just him and I.
Yeah, you're like the center of all things.
Yeah. And I used to think at that point, I remember saying to my mum on the phone, because obviously you couldn't even see anyone then, could you? Yeah. I remember saying, I wish he had like a twin that was in a wardrobe that I could bring out and then put back.
Well, that wouldn't be creepy.
Or just like, it's like Rent-a-Friend, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot of Rent-a-Friends, but that's been really lovely for me. I'm going a bit on a separate conversation now. Is that is being able to say, well, you can bring a friend, and some of his friends, their parents don't have a lot of money, and it doesn't matter because I'm like, honestly, I'll pay for him. You'll be doing me the biggest favor ever because I don't have to be building sandcastles all day, every day. He doesn't want me to do that stuff anyway. He wants to be doing pool bombs and diving competitions with his mate, not with his mum. So to be
I love that you recognize that, because some mums don't.
No, I know, I've got to that. I mean, don't get me wrong, him and I have an amazing relationship, but I see him changing, and I see him changing now, especially now he's only been in his new school for a few weeks, but they start to grow up very quickly.
My oldest daughter is that age too. She just went up to high school in September, and it's like suddenly I now co-live with a 40-year-old lady that kind of shuffles around full of judgment. Like,
Oh yeah,
where did you come from?
yeah,
She's
yeah, yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
like, oh, pasta again, and I'm like, yes, it is
Dude,
pasta
that's
again.
so funny. Frank said to me the other day, "Oh, maybe we could have a bit more of variety." And I'm thinking, well, I'm not even going to say what I was thinking. But I just thought, oh my God, literally, he probably thinks I just sit around when he's at
Yeah,
school, having
yeah,
lattes, my
yeah,
feet up, watching,
yeah.
I don't know, Loose Women. It's like, you've got no idea what goes on behind the scenes when you're at school, you
Yeah,
know?
that's it. Yeah, the kids always say that I just get paid to tell people what to do. I was like, oh, if only, if all that's what it was. That'd be like my ideal job, I think.
Well,
Um,
that sounds perfect.
yeah. So if you had somebody, I said earlier, but what I always love to kind of leave people with is a key takeaway, because obviously I've got a true powerhouse here, women in business who is doing incredible things. For anybody who is either at maybe at the start of their journey, but kind of in the trenches a little bit, or maybe perhaps further on and looking for that next level of success, what would you say? What, maybe two or three learnings from your journey to where you are now, like what advice would you give that person who is
Well, a couple of things that I wish I'd done differently. I wish I'd not worried so much about what other people thought.
yeah,
I would be so worried about my friends or my family, or particularly my ex-boss,
yeah,
seeing me on social media and thinking, who does she think she is? Like, I played small for a very long time because I was worried if I didn't,
yeah,
then I was worried what people would think. They think, who does she think she is?
yeah,
So I wouldn't care,
yeah,
because actually, the minute I stop worrying, look where I am. I don't mean look where I am. Look at me now, and in a
yeah,
smug me. I'm so grateful to I've forgiven myself for worrying so much about what people think, because at the end of the day, nobody really cares about anyone else.
yeah. We
They're
assume
all,
that everybody's obsessed with us, and
I know,
actually
it's
we're
almost
all
like
going through.
narcissistic.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
oh my
it.
God, why do I think everyone's looking and wondering what I'm doing? They don't care.
They're busy
So
trying to handle their own stuff.
yeah, I think, and also to make a hire.
Yes,
I try to do all the things for far too long, and actually, I say hire before you can afford it.
yeah,
Because whilst you're doing all the things, you can never really afford it because you don't have enough time.
yeah,
So the minute that what you're doing when you make a hire is actually buying back your time,
yeah,
and your time is a limited resource.
yeah,
So unless you're going to start doing what I attempted to do, which is getting up at 4 a.m, sometimes I'd even think about getting up at 3, and it's like, this is ridiculous.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
can't work all the time.
yeah.
Time is a limited resource, so you need to throw some money at it to get it back, because
And
whilst you're
it's
paying
a false
whatever it is an
economy.
hour.
Yeah, it's a false
Exactly.
economy anyway, because even though you may think you're saving money, it's actually costing you money, because you could be growing your business instead of worrying about your expenses.
Yeah.
And definitely that's what I teach. I always say we are not Whitney Houston. We are not meant to be every woman. Fuck that shit.
No,
It's
that's a
okay
great
to,
thing.
yeah, it's okay for it to be easy, and it's okay for you to be supported. And that's ultimately what gives you that maximum reach and impact and all of the things anyway. So amazing. So I'm really excited because you've also got an incredible masterclass series coming up in November, which is going to help
True.
women to
Yeah.
actually create their own Facebook ads. And did you say, I'll pop all of the details in the show notes, but what I thought was quite interesting, you said that you would literally be doing it with them to empower them
Yeah,
to,
I'll show
yeah,
them how to do that. So they can build a different part of it every day. I'll be covering things like understanding the right objectives, understanding targeting, understanding how to make data-driven decisions. Because there are lots of people that will say Facebook ads don't work. It's like, well, nothing works if you don't know how to do them properly. I wouldn't be able to fix my car. I wouldn't attempt it. But
yeah,
somehow people think that they can run a Facebook ad, because on a certain level, if you don't know what you don't know, it looks very simple. But
yeah,
actually, to understand them, strategy is everything with
yeah.
Facebook It's not about the boost and just pressing a few buttons. So I will talk through every day, 4 days listening to me.
Yeah.
I have quite a unique teaching style, which is another reason why people are drawn to me, because I don't believe that learning something, a lot of my business is quite skills based. Doesn't mean it has to be boring.
Yeah.
I've got ADHD, so my attention span is really short. So
Do you know what?
I
I think a lot of women do actually, and
lots of
I
entrepreneurs do.
yeah, I've had this reflected back to me that it's almost like sometimes my energy is almost like erratic. So that's why I actually have to make notes, Emma, because I was like, I'll never come back to that point. I'll forget it. It's literally out,
No,
like
because
it's gone.
yeah, 1 minute I'm talking about one thing, and then something pops into my head, and it's like if
Yeah.
I listen to myself back, I think, my God, that's like the ramblings of a mad one.
And I'm here
but,
for it.
but I do try to make my teachings fun, quite high vibe, and obviously very value packed, because
Yeah.
because again, going back to time, if someone's going to spend an hour with me for 4 hours over 4 days, I want to make sure that they walk away from that and thinking that was an hour
Yeah.
worth spending with
Yeah.
her
And
on
also
Zoom,
I'm
understanding how
obviously
to do it
biased
properly.
because
Pardon?
so I'm obviously biased because Emma's one of the coaches in my accelerator, and it's just sometimes the timing isn't off, so I'm not there all the time. But anytime I've jumped onto your sessions, that's the thing that has always resonated with me. Like, absolutely, 5 minutes with you, and you walk away with a whole page of notes and getting shit done. And that's what I love. It's not your style isn't like the cloak and daggery of it all. That I can tell you the how, but or the what, but I'm not going to tell you the how. And I'm like, it's literally like you got a question, right? That's it. Like there's the answer,
Yeah.
get it done. And that's what I love. A lot of people try and keep it to themselves. It's almost like a sense of ego and making things more complicated than they need to be.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
Creating the
yeah. The illusion,
knowledge
like,
gap.
yeah,
Yes. Like, oh yes, that's far too complicated.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it's not NASA. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? We're not building rockets here. We're not going into space. That the strategy behind Facebook ads is very complex. But I have also managed to get amazing results on a 50 quid budget.
yeah.
I remember spending 50 quid and making 22.5 grand. So it can be done. It can be done.
Amazing. Wow,
But you
if
need
that
to
is,
understand the nuances, and those are the things that I
yeah,
will, I'm an open book. I'll talk about anything. So they will
amazing.
be value packed. So
Wow,
anyone that needs me in their life right now with their funnels,
I feel
Facebook
like we
ads.
all need you in our lives, Emma, to literally get us
Then
out there and getting results. Wow, if that is not a hook, £50 from a £50 ad, like 22,000, you need to lead your advertising with that because that's insane.
well, sadly, you're not allowed to.
Oh,
Otherwise, I
really?
would. No,
Oh, oh,
no.
okay. Let me be your
Unfortunately,
hype man.
yeah,
I'll tell everybody.
yeah. That can be done organically, but no, Facebook definitely wouldn't like me talking about that. That's going to get
Oh,
me banned, which is the
oh,
last
okay.
thing
Let's not
I
do that then.
need.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for your time because I know that genuinely, like, this will mean a lot to the women that are listening.
You're
Um,
very welcome. I've really enjoyed it.
yeah, oh good. So thank you so much, ladies. Obviously, make sure that you share this episode with anybody you think would be really valuable and would enjoy it. Make sure you leave a review so that more women can find me, and then also head straight over and join Emma's masterclass. So have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.